President, Los Angeles just announced that they are delaying the opening of their schools. New York already said they were going to delay them. Other school districts are giving parents the choice whether to send their kids to school or not. What do you tell parents who look at this, who look at Arizona where a school teacher recently died teaching summer school, parents who are worried about the safety of their children in public schools?
Yeah, schools should be opened. Schools should be opened. If kids want to go to school, you're losing a lot of lives by keeping things closed. We did the right thing. We saved millions of lives. We saved millions of lives when we did the initial closure. Had we not done what we did, we would have had Mike and I were talking about it before, 2 to 3 million lives lost. But we did that. So we're at about 135,000, and we'll be at somewhat higher than that by the time it ends. And again, the vaccines are happening and the therapeutics are happening, but I'm not even talking about that. So we'll be at a somewhat higher, but we would have lost 2 million, 3 million lives had we not done it. We have to open the schools. We have to get them open. And I think there's a lot of politics going along. I think they think they'll do better if they can keep the schools closed in the election. I don't think it's going to help them, frankly, but I think they feel that by keeping schools closed, that's a bad thing for the country, and therefore that's a good thing for them.
I mean, how much more obvious could it get than a reporter acknowledging that a teacher just died in Arizona from coronavirus, and the very first words that leave Donald Trump's lips are, "Schools should be opened." You couldn't ask for a clearer indication of just how little regard he has for the health and safety of America's children. Trump wheels off a list of vague excuses, starting with, "We're losing a lot of lives by keeping schools closed." Now, what Trump may be clumsily referring to are the negative impacts on children by keeping them at home. For example, more time at home with parents means kids may witness substance abuse, neglect, violence, or domestic abuse. We may see stress-related cognitive impairment and diseases, and removing teachers can eliminate a trusted resource for children for seeking help. All of those are worrisome, to be sure, but let's be clear here, these things are not a deadly virus that could lead to someone's immediate death. We've lost almost 140,000 Americans in less than 6 months to this virus. So let's not pretend for even a second that keeping kids at home is even in the same universe with regard to the dangers presented by this pandemic. Notice that Trump never actually cites any evidence that we're allegedly losing lots of lives by keeping schools closed. There's a reason for that. He then goes on to pat himself on the back for having done anything. He says that had he not taken the quote, initial closure, we'd have lost 2 to 3 million lives. To be clear, what Trump is saying is that he's a hero because he didn't do nothing. That's what the 2 to 3 million figure is a reference to. That's how many lives were expected to be lost if the government did literally nothing at all. And so because Trump didn't take that route, he thinks he deserves a parade and a military flyover. And that initial closure he's referring to, he's talking about the China ban from January. The half-baked travel ban that happened 6 months ago that still let 40,000 people into the country anyway. A ban that clearly didn't work considering we have the most cases and the most deaths in the world. And yet still he touts it like it solved the problem. He's still celebrating the travel ban as if it worked, as if we don't have 140,000 dead Americans. And yet he has no choice because that one failed step was in actuality the only step he took. He never coordinated a nationwide testing or contact tracing system. He never produced enough PPE. He never advocated for social distancing or mask wearing. He never endorsed stay-at-home orders. Any step he could have taken to mitigate the spread, he did the opposite. And so his only choice is to lean on this travel ban from China that happened 6 months ago because it's all he has. His refusal to let it go is proof of that. Trump goes on to say that Democrats want the schools to stay closed because it'll be bad for the country and, as a result, better for them. You know why Democrats want the schools closed? Because we don't want kids to die. Because we've realized that this administration does not care about the loss of life. Because we've seen nearly 140,000 people die in the last 6 months, and still this administration is operating under the exact same sense of denialism that it's employed since day one of this outbreak. So at this point, I'm pretty sure that Democrats have realized that if we want people to survive, we should probably do the opposite of what Trump is doing, because every single step he's taken thus far has led to the immediate loss of life. The obvious fact is that Trump isn't concerned about the pandemic, he's concerned about the stock market. He's concerned about the economy, he's concerned about having his talking points before the November election. And he's already told us on a daily basis through every action he's taken that hundreds of thousands of American lives are a small price to pay so that he can help his own re-election. And don't forget to listen to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I'll take a deep dive into the biggest issues of the week and interview major players in the world of politics, like Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Beto O'Rourke, Eric Swalwell, Katie Porter, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.